Exploitation is the bad outcome of an organized and responsible way of using and processing natural resources. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to limit to our own country, who by far is ranked top 11 for mining resources and 27 in oil and gas, quoted from 2017 Resource Governance Index or RGI. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of potential natural resources happening in our country. For the instance, we can't maximize processing natural resources because first, we don't have the right tools, we don't know how to maximize the usage of our own natural resources, and we have a problem in how to stabilizing our price, because even if we are rich in natural resources, we have many limitation in how to manage our own stocks, that we can't stabilize our own price. And because of that, because we have a lot of issue, for example is exploitation, we can't then focus into the exploitation issue, we have a lot of management issue, then we have many more problem into the sector. And because again, why do we prefer this idea? Because we prefer a world where critical resources are governed by International Material Agency, because this agency helps, and it was used against it, that would act as a global organization with the goal to manage critical resources, and including but not limited to oil, natural gas, rare earth elements, for instance is nickels, reduce rates of shortages or trade conflict, and encourage more sustainable and responsible ways of using and extracting resources. Ladies and gentlemen, what do we mean by extracting resources is that we can increase the value of some natural resources, and we can sell more into the other country, and we can then provide more and more beneficial in economic sector, because it increase the value of each natural resources. And ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we have a lot of issue about many requests happening and also demands of other country. For the instance is China of our nickels, because we have a big country, we have a lot of management issue regarding exploitation, etc. we do we do have many things to solve, but we can't then find the right tools, and also we don't have the help to how to manage our own natural resources, because we are currently in the because we are currently standing as the developing country. We have many issues how to solve each of the issues. Ladies and gentlemen, this organization could solve exploitation and also reducing exploitation and also illegal mining. Why? Because it reduce, and also it it would act as a huge help, because it acts as an organization that will help us how to manage each of the natural resources away from the people that is unorganized and also unresponsible. They could then manage how to then maximize our value into the natural resources that we are currently have. And with that being said, because International Material Agency, created by a group of each international delegacy, it provides live and verified information regarding the life status of the livestock. And because it is the natural resource worry, for example, is the conflict that is happening currently in the global, it reducing the conflict, and also it can solve and also help to solve how to then manage each country needs into the natural resources. And because we it also is the worry of the shortage, because if a developing country has a lot of potential natural resources, then they could then maximize how to then mine more potential natural resources, that they can stabilize their own prices and also the stocks. And because of that, we don't need to rely into the specific country. For the instance, we have a lot of demanding into the oil, fuel, natural gases, etc. And because this organization could help into to stabilize every country's stocks, then they could provide many more life solution, and they could then maximizing the value again. Then because it is again the natural resource worried about the conflict and shortages, then every developing country and also other country could focus more into the renewable resources. It could be a huge help, because then if we is the worry about the natural resources, then we can go focus more into the renewable resources. And because it acts as a long-term solution, it could apply into the modern era and also etc, because it could help again to develop our country, because it increase the currency. Because then if this organization offers the sustainability and also how to then maximizing the value, for example I would like to explain this nickels. For the instance, China demands many nickels from our country, but why don't we just maximize the usage of nickels? Why don't we just sell batteries to them? Because we don't have the right tools, then this organization could help how to maximizing the value of the nickels. And with that being said, the nickels that was being used for electric vehicle acts as more profitable fuel. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why we prefer a world where critical resources are governed by international or materials agency, because again, if we can't maximize the processing to process natural resources because we don't have the right tools, this organization could act as a help how to manage for each livestock and also how to stabilize the prices. Because if many countries has stabilized their own natural resources, for instance they can then maximizing the usage of their own potential natural resources, then we don't have to rely into the importing natural resources. So because it reduces the importing natural resources, then it doesn't backlash onto us, but we can then stabilize our prices first because we have a lot to demand, but we don't have the livestock into our own country, and with that we have a lot of crisis happening in our country because we have limitation in our own natural resources. For the instance is oil and also fuel, because we have a global crisis where we have difficulties in how to then manage the fuel from other country and how to send it into our own country, then we can maximizing the usage of the natural resources. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, why do we prefer a world where critical resources are governed by international material agency? Because again, it solves many critical and also crisis happening in our country.